record this.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
Does that work?
That's fine. Yeah, well, it says it's recording, so I assume
Okay,
it's
cool, awesome.
awesome.
So, Alex, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and like what course you're in and what year, and sort of like what you're interested in with this course and like what kind of music you mainly are interested in making?
Yeah, so my name's Alex. I'm 20. I'm in second year of the straight music production course. And in terms of, well, I came in this course not really knowing anything. And
Yeah.
I've developed from there. I'm doing quite well now. And yeah, I'm mainly interested in more guitar-based music. I'm not great with the electronic stuff, but I try. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I feel like I should introduce myself too, but I
Yeah,
don't
go
know.
for it.
I'm Nina, and I am a first year right now, and I'm sort of interested in the same thing, like more indie music, not really like electronic stuff. And yeah, and I'm sort of interested in learning all about how to become a producer and like all of this sort of technical stuff that you need to know. So
All the different aspects to it and all that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Different aspects. Tell us a little bit about your course and like what your experience has been so far. Like, uh, how has like how has it been from going from like first year to second year, sort of growing in your music style and like how you sort of write music?
Okay. So the course is very different to what I expected it to be. I sort of just expected it all to be just recording music. And then I arrived and it turned out to be something completely different. That's definitely for the better, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
You learn all around the music industry and what it will take to hopefully become whatever we want to be once we leave here, whether it be a more traditional producer or a more contemporary producer. Um, and yeah, this course has completely like given me the skills and given me everything that I need for that. And yeah, from first year, I came in not knowing anything. I learned a hell of a lot in first year,
Mm-hmm.
and applied that to uh, make me grow through second year. And yeah, all the different projects that I do, everything is certainly, I don't know, changed.
Right, nice. Yeah, I kind of come from a similar background where like I didn't know anything about like the actual production aspect of it. And so like I'm imagining that you've just like grown a lot in the sense of like learning so much about being behind the scenes and like in the
Yeah,
studio versus like being on stage in like a band or something
yeah, definitely.
traditionally.
Yeah, I think we both came in with more traditional like player experience. So I know you were in a band. I think I was in. I think I was in a band. I know I was. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was in a band for a couple of years. Um, and yeah, no, I didn't know anything about producing before coming on the course. Really, I'd done a bit of work experience previously, but yeah,
Right. Yeah, it's also kind of interesting too like the fact that like you are like a really good producer and like have learned how to be like a really good producer but still
Thank
came
you.
onto this course not like still came onto this course not really knowing too much about that side, so it is cool how that's possible.
Oh yeah, it's
um
anyone can do what we do, definitely.
yeah,
You've
it's
got to be committed. Like you can come in with no, well, very little musical experience and just an interest. Like I know there's someone in your year that's done that.
right.
Um, and yeah, you can come in with very little music knowledge, just an interest in listening to music and wanting to learn how to make it. And from there, you can develop yourself, definitely.
Right. Like speaking on that too, like how do you think like what's the most challenging part about this course and like what's probably the hardest hardest part of it? Because I know it's pretty challenging at times and it's a
Yeah,
lot of
no, it's surprisingly challenging at times. Probably in terms the time management stuff, that's what you got to keep on top of. If you can't do that, then you're probably gonna like fail.
right.
There have been times when I've just not been conscious of what I should be doing and when I should be doing it, and it's just meant that I either haven't like been organized, haven't got certain things done in time, and it's embarrassing and all that. So yeah, time management's the most important thing. That can also be the hardest thing. But it's definitely difficult when if you lose motivation at some point or lose creativity. It's definitely I think everyone goes through periods where you're just like, oh God, I really don't know what I need to do, what I should be. Yeah,
Yeah,
everyone's been.
definitely.
So
Right.
when that hits, it's just bouncing back from that and working your way around it. That's probably the most challenging thing.
Right, yeah, I agree with that. It's definitely like a time management thing. Like some people, the only reason you would probably not do well in this course is if you don't have like all of your sort of stuff together and if you don't like sort of keep organized. But other than that, you have so many resources that
Yeah.
you're able to get through it.
I think
Um,
what separates someone who's doing like really well, or who's getting the high marks, like we are, uh, and somebody who isn't, is definitely the time management stuff. Because I'm
right.
not the best like music maker. I'm not the best producer on the course. I'm just one of the best at keeping organized.
Right, yeah. Same here. That makes sense. What do you think the best part of this course has been so far for you?
Oh God, the best.
I don't know, like
I
maybe
think like
like something you've written or
the projects that we make, but we work really well together. So the projects that
yeah,
we're working on now, the folk one and the more electronic Lord based one, they're definitely the best projects that I've made, uh, and definitely had a lot of fun making them. But apart from that, just being at uni in general is a really great experience, and I think that's where you grow the most. Like it's all good coming and learning whatever course you want to do, whether it be music production or geography or history or whatever. But coming to uni and being independent, that's where you grow as a person.
right.
I've enjoyed that, definitely.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I think the best part of this course definitely is like the stuff that we've worked on, like the collaboration aspect, because I've never been able to like really write very well with different people, but then like you and I have written some songs together and that like has gone really well and that was like a big learning experience for me.
Yeah,
But it's
definitely.
also that and then just learning from each other and like what people come into this course knowing you can already learn from them and then also the things that everyone is like all the resources everyone is giving you is also really helpful.
Quite
But
often the
yeah,
course is sort of split, isn't it, between the more electronic people and the more traditional music. And
right.
you have to do both sides on this course. And you definitely learn from each other all the time. And if
Yeah,
you're willing to engage, not with the other half, but with
definitely.
people with more experience than you, if you're willing to engage with them and learn from them, then that's how you do well, and that's when you probably have the most fun. Really, is learning.
Right, yeah, definitely. I agree with that. Let's see. Tell us more about some of the projects that you've done this year. I mean, we could talk about some of like the Lord-based song that we're doing or something like that.
Yeah. So I've done about 6 or 7 main projects this year within for the portfolio module. So I've done like a indie folk sort of one inspired by Monsters and Men and Lumineers and all those sorts of bands which we worked on together. I've done a song with a local artist called Simon Snays who came in and sung with us and we did pretty much the rest of it. Uh, God, what else have I done? I've done a DJ project where we made some lo-fi house music. I've done a project with a saxophone player who I knew from school, where it's like lo-fi jazz with the saxophone as the lead, and that's going quite well at the moment. We've got our Lord stuff, so yeah, you do a whole load of stuff, and you can most of the things you can choose as to whether you want it to be electronic or if you want it to be not electronic. Um, and that benefits everyone. But you've also got to be mindful of the fact that at the end of the year you've got to hand both sides in. Particularly in my year, I assume it's the same or similar with your year at the
Right.
moment. Um, and yeah, no, the Lord project, we've been like layering vocals to create chords and using that as our pad. So we got Nina into the studio and we did each note at a time, did 4 different takes of each note and panned them to either side. It creates this like big sound that hits quite hard, and then mix that with like electronic drums and a very deep sub bass. And yeah, it all adds up, and that's sounding really good at the moment. And then the other one which I'm quite enthused about is the that indie folk one, where I just started off writing that one back in September, and I brought it in, I recorded guitar and I built up. And at Christmas when I went home, a friend of mine plays cello and he also plays piano. So I got him to record that, which was something I'd never experienced before. I learned a lot from just doing that. And then I got you in the studio to do the vocals, and we struggled a little bit at first, but then we ended up bringing a male vocalist at the same time, and you sang together. And I think that was something that I think I've been recommended by one of the lecturers to do that. Just give that a
Uh-huh.
go, and that worked wonders. Really, that was something learning. That's what producing really is thinking outside of the box on how to record or how to mix or whatever. Thinking outside of the box to create different results that often might lead to a better result.
Right, yeah, like I think that is like one of the one of the biggest learning experiences that I have had in the studio is like not necessarily just working with the equipment that we have, working with the desk and stuff, but also working with other people and like musicians, like seeing how different musicians want to interact with each other. And that's like a huge thing in real life, like being able to do that outside of just uni work. So that's like a huge learning experience.
Yeah, it's all good having like the best gear in the world, but if you don't have the chemistry in the studio between people that you're working with, it's going to sound bad at the end of the day.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Um, and then also maybe we should talk to like more about the studio and like the facilities. Like, what do you think of all of the different equipment that we have? Like the staff around, like maybe Cameron and Andy, who are our
Yes.
sound techs, and how that sort of works. We can just walk through that.
Yeah, no, we've got a fantastic studio that I think it was built maybe 10 years ago or so, and they
Mm.
completely stripped the side of a building to make it, a room within a room, and like a room on springs and all that, so that it's completely sound isolated, so we can play as loudly as we want. We won't distract the next door neighbors. And we've got some fantastic gear, some like classic gear from some of the microphones we've got to some of the guitars, some of the amps that we've got all the way through to the desk, which is an Audient desk, which I've seen used in a couple of like proper traditional studios. Um, and yeah, no, we've just got a load of really great gear and some really great techs. Andy, who's been around since my first year, and now Cameron, who's our PhD student. Um, and I think without them and not their attitude to helping us learn, without them, the studio just definitely wouldn't be as much of an enjoyable place as it actually is. So yeah,
Right. Yeah, definitely. I agree. I think yeah, it's like it's a really cool environment because it is sort of like any other recording studio. Like it is like a real recording studio. It's not
oh, very
something
much
that
so.
yeah, it's not something that like you would just somebody has just like put together. There's a lot of thought put into it. Like I know in my like sound and acoustics class, like Russ just goes on about how much he
Yeah,
dislikes
no,
this.
yeah, he
Like
did
just
that in our first year.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's good.
It's
It's
good
like
for it's quite a versatile studio, I think, because I've
right.
been in a studio which is great for like drums. Drums sound brilliant in there, but then other instruments like bass doesn't sound too good in there usually.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's a good all round studio. It's a very dead studio, so it means that we add our own reverb and things like that instead of having a natural reverb. But if we want a natural reverb, we can book out the chapel, which is another option that's available to us, and there's a drum kit in there that we can use. Um, and there's a piano in the chapel as well, and then there's a Hammond organ in the studio, which is a really nice piece of gear, which I don't think many people use as often as they should, really, which is
I
a shame.
love it.
I
I
love it. It's
try to
great,
use
isn't
it.
it?
Yeah, I try to use it as
It's
much as
really
I
lovely.
can because it's so pretty. Yeah. Let's see. What do you think the like coming from first year to second year, what do
Yeah.
you think the general focus is between those two year groups, like academically?
So first year, you're learning like how to use the studio and how to listen, how to do all of this stuff, and you're still learning that in second year, but it's a lot more applied.
Mm,
So in first year, you've got pretty much half of the year is just learning what does what on the desk before you can really use it and really know how to use it. And you need that knowledge, or else obviously you wouldn't be able to really record anything in the studio.
right.
And then second year, we've had a lot more projects compared to our first year, and that just means that we're enhancing our knowledge. So it's all good like being shown it, but if you don't, if you're not doing practicing practically, then there's no point to it really. And within our listening modules, that just gets even more in depth within second year. So you start off with it's Russ's LFFA system. Um,
Yeah,
and that goes even more in depth next year for you.
right.
And that's good fun. That's really useful because if you don't know what you're listening to, then how you're meant to make anything really.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, the LFFA thing is like just for those of you who don't know, like the
Listening framework
LFFA,
for analysis, isn't it?
yeah, it's just like
Yeah.
an analyzing tracks and stuff like that. So it's kind of fun because you come in and then you just get like a bunch of weird music blasted at you for an
Yeah.
hour and you have to analyze it. But yeah, I can imagine all of that goes into like depth that I'm really excited to learn about next year.
Yeah, definitely. And every module sort of all comes together within the big portfolio module. So in your first year, you've got even like Mark's theory, like the theory behind the practical of behind music production. Even that you can still feel yourself almost using within the portfolio module sometimes. Yeah,
Right.
and that's something we should talk about. This degree, it's not just making beats and making songs. There is definitely an academic side to it, which I think
Yeah.
a lot of people don't expect when they turn up.
Right. Yeah,
Um,
this
but
Mark's lessons are about musicology, so like the history of music production. And so that's something that you might not even think is useful in the studio, but if you learn how other people have come across doing certain things, writing certain things, then you find yourself using it in the same way. And like knowing where your inspiration is actually coming from is really important.
very much so, yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Cool. What would you
Yeah.
consider like, let's see, what would you consider like the general vibe of the course to be?
General vibe, God. The general vibe of the course, it's serious and fun at the same time. Because even within sort of the main two lecturers, the two or three senior lecturers, there's Russ who's very particular in certain
Yeah.
ways, and then Chris who's also very particular in other ways, and just the chemistry that they have and the chemistry that I think you end up building with everyone on your course and the lecturers all comes together for a very fun and enjoyable experience. And then some of the time it is quite serious, where if you're working with a client, which I don't know if you've done this year.
Yeah,
Uh,
I started that for the project we just had to like cut short,
uh,
but yeah, it was
yeah,
fun but
we worked
stressful.
with. There's three projects where the uni have found us clients, and then one or two projects where we found clients. And that's a very different atmosphere. Uh, just because you're actually working for someone, you're not working for yourself, and you want to try and impress them, you want to try and be as good as possible for them, because at the end of the day, they're people in industry, and
Right.
they might be able to offer you a job or give you contacts or help you network and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's definitely like you're making connections outside of just people that you're working with in the university
Very much so.
um, as soon as you start, which is really interesting. And we also have like industry day too, where a bunch of people from the industry come in and we get to like hear about their experience in the music industry and what they sort of do. Some of them are business students and stuff, or
Yeah.
not students, business owners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that helps you build up a network. And even within just your course, you've effectively got a network of 20 people, which when we come out of uni, that will definitely, hopefully, help us in the long run.
Right.
There's definitely people that you'll stay in contact with if you need certain things done, and hopefully that will happen vice versa and all that sort of thing. So, yeah.
Yeah. Right. Okay, what would your top three tips be for anybody who's joining the music production course?
Listen to a lot of music, not just the music that you like. So if you're into like death metal, listen to K-pop, listen to regular pop, listen to dance music, listen to anything. Um, I think a lot of people came on this course thinking that pop is terrible, pop is crap, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and you come on this course and you end up almost having an appreciation for it at the end of the day.
Mhm.
I know I definitely listened to a lot more pop than I did before I came on the course. And I don't mind that at all. I've you know that's where the money is at the end of the day.
Yeah, I
Uh,
do the same thing.
yeah,
Yep.
definitely. Tip two: if you have no musical experience, either pick up a guitar or a piano and just learn basic chords, um, and learn basic scales, because that will come in to help. so much when it comes to songwriting and it comes to anything that you try and do. Um, and if you don't songwrite, write a couple of songs, just because it's fun and it will teach you a lot about yourself. It'll teach you a lot about um, a lot of things that you may not think about when you're listening to a song. You'll gain a deeper appreciation for a lot of music, I think.
Right, yeah.
And tip three, oh God, let me think. Um, oof. Be prepared for if you're set on coming on this course, be prepared for a lot of things that you weren't expecting. Uh, actually, no, scrap that one. Cut that one out.
Okay.
Um, if you can, obviously, given the current circumstances, try and come to uni and try and meet the lecturers. If you can do like a Skype call or a Zoom call or FaceTime or whatever you want to do, try and get in contact with Russ or Ben or Chris or any of the lecturers, and you'll learn a lot from them. Just from in terms of the course, you'll learn a lot more than I think we can provide. Um, obviously, we can provide like the insider knowledge, but they'll tell you more about the structure of the course that you might not get from the website and things like that.
Right, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I agree with those.
Go on,
What do
what
you
are your top three tips? Go on.
my
You put me on the spot.
probably I know. Sorry.
No.
I think the first one would definitely be like make sure that you are committed like time wise. Like
Mm,
you can't just like write and record a whole song in a day. Like don't get in
yeah,
that
definitely.
mentality and really like cherish what you're doing.
Mm.
Um
Take pride in your work, basically.
yeah,
And that
yeah, definitely. And taking pride takes time as well, like being
very
able
much
to
so. Yeah.
yeah, and same sort of a similar thing, like just don't be close-minded on like all of the different music that you can be introduced to and all of the different music that you get to create. I know I was like same thing with me is like I didn't really listen to a lot of pop. I listened to more like indie stuff, but I've definitely listened
Hmm.
to ton more like pop and everything recently. Um, and then the third one would be like probably try to like network and communicate with people as much as you
Yes.
can.
Yeah,
Um,
particularly within your local area. Like, before you come to York, if you live in a city, you're in a great situation. Just go down to like open mic nights or just very small gigs and meet people and meet artists and meet producers or agents or anything.
right.
Um, because that will help build your network straight away. Definitely, it's something I wish because I don't live in a city. I live in a small town in Suffolk, and there isn't really much of a music scene in Suffolk. And that does make it a bit difficult at times. But I've got a network of classical musicians who I went to school with who are all very, very good and very, very talented.
Mhm.
And that's helped me out loads.
Yeah, I'm kind of similar to like I came from a really small town in Colorado, so I have worked with like a lot of people that I've been in certain bands with and stuff like that, and like quite a few people who are in the industry doing more sound related stuff.
Yeah.
And I definitely like don't break those contacts. Like make sure you keep in
Mm,
contact with those people.
yeah.
That's actually a good lead into this other question that I
Oh,
have.
okay, go for
Leading in.
it.
um, how could new students starting your course best spend their time in lockdown to
Oh.
prepare for this course, you think?
Definitely the pick up a guitar or a piano or something. Or if you can't afford a guitar or a piano, then um, if you have like GarageBand on an iPad or a phone or something, or if you have a Mac, then you can learn chords on that. Um, that's a start. And just listen to music. Listen to so much music.
Yeah.
Like you've got so much free time. Listen to music and appreciate it. Uh, like just sit down and don't have it on in the background. Sit down with it in the foreground and listen to tracks that you know well, and you might like find things you haven't heard before.
Right, yeah.
And that's the beauty of music, really.
Yeah. It's also helpful to like sort of research different tracks that you really like care about or like different artists that you really care about and sort of see what their techniques are for like
Yes.
music, like how they're making it, what's inspiring them and stuff like that. Yeah.
And there's a brilliant website called I think it's Every Noise at Once or Every Sound at Once. Let me just Google
Okay.
it. Yeah, Every Noise at Once. And it's just got every genre you could ever imagine.
Oh.
on there, and you can search like an artist or you can search a genre, and it will take you to that artist's genre or that genre's page, and it will just show you loads of artists within that, and you can find so many artists through that. So like you just zoom in and there's like micro house here, and Estonian electronic, um, Arab trap,
That's so
house.
specific.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very like weird stuff that you may not ever think you could imagine, but it'll definitely teach you like Thai indie rock. Okay? But yeah, no, there's so many genres that you may not have ever thought of, and even if it's just like your favorite artist, just search in there, and there might be artists that you've never heard of before, and you can listen to their stuff and just grow your repertoire of what you've listened to.
Yeah, that's cool. I actually haven't heard of that, so I'll have to check it out
Oh, it's
myself.
very good. Yeah, it's really good. Chris
Yeah.
introduced it to us earlier
Huh.
this year, I think.
That's cool. Usually I do like I go on like the Genius website where there's
Yeah,
all the lyrics and stuff, but then you go into like I don't remember what it's called, but there's like a section where it's mainly hip hop, but like a lot of producers will show you how they make different beats and stuff. And
that's cool. That's really interesting.
yeah, like
Mhm.
I'm not really into hip hop, but it's cool because
Yeah,
I'm really bad at making beats, so it's cool
yeah.
to like learn how to do that.
Mhm.
But
But yeah,
good tips.
good. Oh, one more tip. If you do come on the course, remember that this course is at the end of the day a lot of money.
Yeah,
If you're a British student, it's £9,250 a year. If you're international, it's even more.
yeah,
Uh,
it's
so
like
you've
twelve
just you
thousand.
yeah exactly yeah you've got to be committed to this course. There's no point rocking up and half-assing it, because if you half-ass this course is when you're gonna have the most free time in your career. If you half-ass this, then you're not gonna get by. Um,
Right.
really, and like my year, there's been a lot of people who either dropped out um, or just could not keep up with the course, and there's no shame in that, but it means that it was very much an eye opener for us that this is when we have the most time. This is when we have the most, probably the least amount of projects we'll ever have to work on, and um, we might as well make the most of it. We might as well just be as committed as possible, or else there's no point coming here.
Yeah,
Really,
definitely. I agree. I agree on that 100%.
just
Because
embrace every opportunity. York's a great city. It's got a very interesting music scene. It's quite a more singer-songwritery sort of based thing. And
yeah,
then there's the Fulford Arms, which puts on like small bands all the time. There's open mic nights all the time. There's great buskers. There's everything really. So throw yourself into
yeah,
the
even
city, into the course.
yeah, like even just walking through the streets and everything. There's especially if it's nice out. There's like tons of different busking
Why
going
don't you
on.
busk?
And why aren't I?
Yeah, you're a good singer. You can play
I
guitar. You should
was
be busking.
I was going to actually with one of my friends, Joe, who's
Yeah,
in my year, but then we left. But
yeah,
yeah.
definitely should.
Yeah, that'd be fun. It'd be cool. I kind of want to. There is something weird on my visa where it says that I can't do that because you can't
Really?
be an entertainer, which I don't. That's like
What?
a very
That's
broad.
really weird.
I
Okay.
know. I don't know, but I'm sure I could probably get away with it.
I'm sure not.
Yeah,
We'll leave this
but
out. Yeah, the
you
first
know,
bit out
yeah,
now.
that I'm doing something illegal. Um, uh, yeah, I mean, that also is like sort of leading into the other questions that Chris and Russ put on here, which is like let's talk about like the student life in York and like the music scene and what the SU is like and Freshers Week and everything like that.
Yeah, no, York is great. There's so much in York. Whether you're into clubbing or you're into just going to a pub, I think York's got some of them. It's got so many pubs in such a small area.
Yeah, so many places to go.
Exactly, yeah. And even if you don't drink, there's so many things to do. Um, whether that, yeah, there's just so many museums. There's so many just small little nooks and crannies in York. And yeah, the music scene, singer-songwritery sort of thing. If you play guitar and you songwrite, I definitely recommend going to open mic nights. Um, Nina,
Yeah.
you should be doing
Yeah, I
that. Cut that out. So yeah, it's a great singer-songwriter scene. The Fulford Arms is fantastic, and the SU put on a open mic night once a month. I think it is like the last or first Thursday of a month. I can never
yeah, I think
remember.
it's like the last Thursday of every month. Yeah.
Um, And then if you want to do karaoke, the SU do that. If you want to do pub quizzes, there's so many in York. Like
Yeah,
every
I think
night
there's
there's
a music one too, like
yeah,
somewhere.
I'm sure there is. Yeah. Um, and yeah, if you're into clubbing, there's three main clubs, and they're decent. They, York isn't a party city at the end of the day, but it is a student city, so there is nights out.
Right.
Uh, but Leeds is just down the road. Manchester isn't that far away, really. Yeah, Leeds is 20 minutes on the train, and
Yeah.
that's got every size of venue you can imagine, from like Brudenell Social Club, which is small, and there's probably even smaller than Brudenell, up to Leeds Arena, uh, which is what, I don't know, 15,000 people probably. I don't know, maybe a bit less than that.
Right.
Uh, so yeah, any type of act that you could want to see, Leeds will probably have it. York doesn't have that many touring musicians come to it, unless they're very small. Then there's a few venues. There's the Basement down by the river. There's Fulford Arms. Yeah, there's quite a few. It's nice.
Yeah. Which you
And
could kind of use as like to your advantage as well, like having smaller musicians that you go and like take the time to go see and even try and interact with
very
and
much
stuff
so,
like
yeah.
that.
It's all
Yeah,
good, like
just
going to see, a big band, but at the end of the day, you're not really going to get much chance to meet them.
right.
Whereas if you find an artist or a band, you can definitely go up to them and introduce yourself. So yeah,
Which is another thing that we should probably go do more. Is just go and
yes,
network more. Just socially awkward. Yes,
yep.
I agree with all of that.
Yeah,
I mean, you
uh,
obviously know more about the area than I do, but
yeah.
I think that there is like more of a student vibe, and like on the weekends it's more of like a touristy vibe too, so you're getting like a
Very
lot of
much.
different people from different places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The city's beautiful as well, and it's a small city at the end of the day. So like a 15-minute walk in York feels quite far, whereas if you go to Leeds or somewhere, that's like a tiny walk, if you know what I mean.
Right. Yeah, I agree. It does seem like it's not doesn't even feel like much of a city. Sometimes it feels more of like a town.
Yeah, a large
Um,
town at the end of the day.
yeah,
So
I agree. I think that's basically it that I have.
nice.
Nice.
How are you enjoying the course, Nina?
I'm good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it a lot. It is really interesting because I came from Colorado and I could have stayed in the U.S., but I just thought it was more interesting. Like this program really opened my eyes to more things because it's like small enough to where you know your lectures, you know what
Yeah.
connections you're making, and you have plenty of help coming your way with anything that you're confused about. Whereas in the U.S., that's like not very much of a
Yeah.
thing. Like, and you also, like you have other distractions in the U.S. too. Like you have to take different classes that don't have to do with your major or
Yeah.
your course, and that just makes sense. But yeah, I really like it a lot so far because I've met a lot of really cool people from different places and interesting different music views and stuff like that,
Mm.
and like collaborating again, like being able to collaborate with people like you and like being able to like just learn more from each other rather than just learning from a textbook or
Yeah.
something because that's not really how this industry works.
Very much so. Yeah. There's no
Yeah.
rule book really.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
so yeah. You raised a good point about with the lecturers, the fact that we're such a small course, like it just means that the course become tight knit, even with people who you may not socialize with as much. You're still tight knit with them, but you know your lecturers, you know so much about them, and they know a fair amount about you. I would say,
Right.
and that's a great environment to work in because like you hear of like the psychology course or whatever, where there's like 150 people in a room or whatever, just sitting there scrolling down notes.
Yeah.
um, and even within our lectures, they feel more like seminars because you can still ask questions, you can still interact. And then you get the seminars where you are meant to go away and do work and come in with the reading and whatnot. And if you engage with that, that can be a really fun experience. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, no, there's a lot to this course
Yeah.
all around. I
It
think.
is more like it is sort of too like being able to know your lectures is really helpful too because like it's not as like intimidating, like you
Yeah,
I feel like when you originally come to uni, you don't really know what to expect
Oh
entirely,
yeah,
but
terrifying. Freshers
yeah.
week is terrifying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But like there's plenty of like banter like during like lectures and stuff like in between, and like you still like part of it is still to like have fun and like to be able to be inspired. It's not like all soul crushing work or anything like that. It's like it's a lot
And
of
the lecturers know their students. Like at the end of the day, we're all musicians to some extent, and I think musicians all struggle with certain things that a lot of non-musicians might not struggle with. And the lecturers are aware of that. Chris is a musician himself, and if you have problems with anything, you can go to them, whether it be like problems with a course or problems with your mental health. If you go to them, they will help you.
right.
And I
Yeah.
know I've been there a few times where I've just been so stressed out just by a few things. And I went to Russ, and yeah, no, he's very honest with you, but he'll set you straight, and you'll know what you need to do when you come into
Right.
Russ.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I really do
I
appreciate
can
that.
imagine being on a massive course, like going into your lecturer that doesn't know you, to be like,
Yeah.
I'm really struggling here. Like, what can I do? That seems terrifying.
Right. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
I did like a week where I was in a school in the U.S. Learning from a music production course, and all the lecturers were very much more like separated from you. Like they didn't
Very
really
interesting.
like want to get to know you as well. And I think, or they just like had like a weird way about them where everything was going to be like written on a board, and I didn't feel comfortable with that. But that's
Yeah,
definitely not what you get here, where it's more personal
yeah,
and stuff. Yeah,
definitely. Brilliant.
yeah, that's
We'll
pretty
leave it
much
there.
it.
Brilliant. Yeah.